All right, and welcome back to High Street Legends. And of course, we're ready to go on deck with my good friend, the dapperly dressed Ryan Decker. Nice tie you got there, buddy.
Appreciate that.
Decker, how's it
Appreciate
going?
Amazon buy.
Prime, are you a Prime member?
Oh yeah, of course. Of course, have to be a Prime member.
There we go.
Absolutely. All right, Isaac, let's get it kicked off. The elephant's in the room. That's a tough loss that we just suffered this past Saturday against Pitt. Let's just what is the mood? What's the mood in Morgantown right now? And then how's everyone responding?
I think the mood is that this is a 1-2 football team that probably should be at least 2-1 after the first 3 weeks. I mean, I don't think anyone in that building is hiding from the fact that they kind of gifted that one away to Pitt there over the final 5 minutes. They're not hiding from that, and now they're just trying to correct the mistakes that happened in that game in the backyard brawl. So they're going into conference play saying that, look, everything that we wanted to accomplish at the start of this year is still in front of us, because at the end of the day, in order to make it to Dallas, to the Big 12 title game, you just have to win your conference games. That the non-conference slate doesn't matter from that standpoint. Now, to do other things that you want to do, if you have your eyes on a college football playoff and all those things, yeah, the non-conference season matters. But to do what you want to do, play for a Big 12 title potentially, that is all still in front of this team. As incredible as that sounds after a 1-2 start and the way they have gotten to this 1-2 record, that's all still there. So I think that's the mentality this week, is that everything is still in front of us. But I think Neil said it earlier this week, you have to take it one game at a time. You have to start going 1-0 against Kansas, and then you get into the open week and you can correct anything else that needs to be corrected. And then you have to start going 1-0 against Oklahoma State and Iowa State and Kansas State and Arizona and so on and so forth after that. That's the mood right now. You just have to correct everything that's been going wrong and consistently get better throughout the rest of the season.
I think the thing that, when you rip the Band-Aid and look at Pitt, it hurts because obviously the 5 minutes or the phantom holding call, it really doesn't matter how. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't really matter where you peg it. When you look at the opportunities W had to win the game and kind of just capitalize and take momentum into the Big 12 schedule, what were the differences in just the first half and the second half for W? Because I think of things, even when I think of, I mentioned the plays earlier, but it seems like they were able to get home to the quarterback more in the second half than they were in the first. What adjustments did they make that, led to such an explosive second half, and then, pretty much resorting back to what they did early in the first half in the last 5 minutes of the game?
Yeah, so I think without knowing the stats off the top of my head, I think Garrett was probably a little bit more efficient in the first half and then in the third quarter as well than he was in the fourth quarter. You mentioned WVU getting to the quarterback. That's the frustrating thing about the backyard brawl, is that if you look at the front seven of the defense mainly, and there's one or two guys in the secondary as well that helped out in this, but you look at the front seven of the defense, 11 tackles for loss and 5 sacks recorded in the backyard brawl. It's the most tackles for loss in a single game by this WVU defense in the regular season since 2021 against a Power 5 opponent. I mean, really, when you get down to it, that front seven was really impressive against Pitt. But what happened was, at the end of the game, those final 5 minutes of those last 2 drives for the Panthers, Eli Holstein was able to run out and scramble. He accounted for almost every single yard, either passing or throwing, over those final 5 minutes for Pitt. So Eli Holstein matured over those final 5 minutes, which really, it sounds like that's kind of how his season has been going so far this year. And then Cincinnati game, it was described as he looked like a freshman in the first half and then looked like a senior in the second half. You kind of saw that again, mainly in the second half against WVU, where for that third quarter, the Pitt offense wasn't on the field and he looked kind of like a freshman. They were rattling him. WVU was a little bit. Fourth quarter rolls around, crunch time rolls around, and suddenly he looks like a senior, a veteran guy. So that was I think the real change, was that West Virginia wasn't able to get home, wasn't able to finish a couple plays there in the offensive backfield on defense. And then offensively, they just couldn't get the necessary yardage there over those final 2 possessions. And, you look back at some of the other things that happened. Ollie Strog does the fake punt, calls his own number there in the first half. And then 5 plays later, unfortunately, Pitt gets him right back with a blocked punt. 2 missed assignments, as Neil has been talking about this week. Just 2 missed assignments on the same play results in 7 points the other way. And then you get the Hudson Clement touchdown that gets called back for a play that, honestly, Zach Frazier made the exact same play at the center spot for Pittsburgh on Sunday, and it wasn't called for. It made it for the Steelers, I should say, and was not called for a hold. So it's interesting, some of the calls that were there, but got to say, officiating was wonky on each side.
On both sides.
There were stuff both ways that I think could have been called that wasn't, or was called that shouldn't have been. But yeah, I mean, you think about that fourth quarter and how momentum really swung after that Justin Robinson touchdown. It felt like everything was going West Virginia's way. There were Pitt fans starting to leave. WVU fans were all about it, and I think some of us counted our chickens before they hatched, so to speak, or kind of the eggs before they hatched, whatever you want to say. So yeah, that fourth quarter, that was the big difference. So again, you're going back to the drawing board, trying to figure out how you fix that this week. If there's changes in the secondary you've got to make. One of the other big things that Neil and the defensive coaches have been harping on is the second level of the defense, those linebackers not dropping back with the correct technique and the correct proficiency to help aid in the secondary's coverage and zone coverage and things like that. So those players need to be better as well.
Before I pass it back to you, Jay, Ryan, we both sat in the press box. That all 22, look is a lot different. And from your football perspective, and I'm not trying to, throw you on a hook, but just from your perspective and seeing the game, how much is this, Eli Holstein and Pitt, this is a team of who they are because we've seen them have these comebacks, 2 weeks in a row. And how much of this is W not being disciplined, W not being able to close games? Because it feels like, if we're not going to mention last season, the season before that, that was a W football team, Neil Brown thing, not being able to finish and close at times. So what is it as far as, on where it weighs on the scale?
A little bit of both. I think what it ultimately comes down to is through 3 games this year, WVU has really struggled at defending against even semi-athletic quarterbacks. So far this year, if you take sack yards out of the equation, WVU has given up 149 rushing yards to opposing quarterbacks this year. And look, Drew Aller is a fine athlete, but he's not Jalen Daniels, who WVU is going to go up against this week. Eli Holstein, fine athlete, probably the best out of the 3 they've seen thus far in terms of just pure athleticism. But again, not Jalen Daniels. And then the Burkett kid for UAlbany, again, it's okay athlete, but he's not Jalen Daniels. So you've given up that many yards on the ground just to the opposing quarterback so far through 3 games. That's been, aside from the coverage issues on defense, that's been the bugaboo so far, is that West Virginia, they are over pursuing, it sounds like, at times the quarterback, and then just leaving the middle of the field wide open for those guys to be able to make hay.
Let's get specific to the backyard brawl. That was a great question, Isaac. That was kind of my question. You stole it from me. But let's get specific to the backyard brawl of hour and a half away, these 2 campuses. But yet Neil, in the Neil Brown era, he's 1-2 versus Pitt, if I have it correct, right? So we know that it means a lot for both sides. It's no longer an issue of Pat Narduzzi having his guys up more, but in terms of recruiting and in terms of just this game and the stakes of it, what is it now looking like for West Virginia competing against Pitt? And they compete for a lot of the same recruits, granted different conferences, but.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. It's something I was wondering about actually coming out of the Penn State game too. That was a huge recruiting game for WVU. There was something like 50 recruits here. Neil called of I think it was the who's who, he said, of local, at least high school recruits and from different areas and stuff like that. So unfortunately, WVU 0-2 and those kind of marquee recruiting battle games so far this year. But I really don't know. I think it's hard to say how much individual games sway the opinion of recruits anymore. And I say that as someone who doesn't really talk to recruits, so maybe I'm going to be off base on this, but I just wonder, in today's kind of current climate of recruiting, how much of the sway is an individual game versus what the NIL bag can kind of be versus just the general feeling of getting a kid on campus and seeing the family-like atmosphere and all those different things that any university can offer. But West Virginia, it sounds like it's a really good job of offering that family type atmosphere, especially with Neil here and all the other things that go into recruiting. I truly wonder how much one specific game goes into swaying a recruit's decision. I really do. And not to kind of avoid the question there, but I just really wonder that sometimes. Does one game make a difference when a recruit, because a lot of these guys have been being contacted, just say by West Virginia, for maybe 2-3 years by the time you're getting on campus. Does one game sway that? I don't know. Maybe it should, maybe it shouldn't. But when it comes to these rivalry games, and especially the backyard brawl, yeah, WVU 1-2 since the revival. But you could say West Virginia's been right there in all three. That's something that Pitt can't say. If you're trying to turn this positive, if you're WVU, Pitt was never in that game last year outside of the first quarter. They were never in that game. West Virginia's had the game won potentially all 3 years. Unfortunately, haven't gotten it done 2 of the 3, but West Virginia's been, I think you could say, the more competitive team since the brawl's been revived.
Well, first, that does not make me feel better. And secondly, is Pitt are they on the schedule next year?
Yes, on the schedule next year. So the way it's working right now, and this could all change, but the way it works right now is Pitt will come to Morgantown in 2025, and then 26, 27, and 28. Pitt is not currently on the schedule, and I'm going to hedge that a little bit. And then it starts back up again for a 4-year swing in 29. It's the same format: at Pitt, at WVU, at Pitt, at WVU. But last week, Neil did make some comments that, look, WVU is working on fixing, to use his word, fixing its non-conference schedule. And he kind of hinted at that Alabama game, that Alabama series, I should say, in 26 and 27 as something that potentially could go away. Now, again, nothing concrete on that. That's just reading between the lines of his comments there in the press conference areas on Mondays. But maybe that Alabama series with no longer having a Nick Saban and a true West Virginia tie to the Crimson Tide, that could go away. And there's mutual interest on both sides with Pitt and WVU to have the backyard brawl be an annual thing and make that more of a tradition once again. So as of right now, 2025 here in Morgantown will be the last time they play until 2029 again. But who knows what happens, not just with the backyard brawl and WVU schedule, but with college football as a whole. By the time you get to 29, we could be playing a completely different thing here.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up because it wouldn't be fun if we didn't speculate a little bit, especially just being on the topic of the backyard brawl. When you think of expansion and not saying, oh, W automatically ends up in a conference with Pitt and Virginia Tech, but I mean, with the expiring contracts and the ACC lawsuits and all the things of that nature, I mean, it starts to feel like it's more of a reality that, non-conference aside, that could end up being a game that could happen, or at least one of the rivalries between Pitt or West Virginia, or Virginia Tech in the coming years or so.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think the way things are looking right now is you're not going to see another seismic shift in conferences, I think, for at least a couple of years. The ACC thing is a mess. And I know Florida State and Clemson, they probably have fantastic lawyers at their disposal, but so does the ACC and all these other networks that are binding them to these contracts. So until something truly happens in the ACC, I'm not going to kind of expect anything to happen, so to speak. I think something would really have to go awry there, such as the ACC getting completely left out of the CFP other than their guaranteed spot with the conference championship. If you see that in the next couple of years, okay, maybe the ACC truly crumbles here. But I think the same could be said true for really any other conference. I mean, the Big Ten and the SEC, they're not being left out, but in an alternate scenario where the Big 12 only gets its conference champion in for just say 2 or 3 consecutive years, does the drawing board open back up for the Big 12? You didn't bring them up, but the UConn thing is interesting to me, but it's not at the same time. If the Big 12 would bring in UConn for basketball, which was the rumor there a few weeks ago, okay, it makes this conference the best basketball conference has ever been created. I mean, take out the heyday of the ACC, take out the heyday of the Big East and whatever else, the Pac-10 from when UCLA was running things. This is the best basketball conference that's ever been made. But then what the caveat is, UConn has 6 years to get its football act together before it would fully join in like 2032, I think was the make-believe year for that. But 2032, we're all going to be playing something else. We'll be playing this thing on the moon, and you're going to have QR codes on the helmets and all those different things. So stuff like that, I just don't put a lot of stock into. We've been saying for so long now this thing's going to change. So to go back to what you asked, yeah, maybe here in 6 years we get to a point where things change so much to where you've got Pitt and WVU and Virginia Tech and Maryland and Penn State maybe all in the same conference. But until the ACC thing gets figured out, and then with the Pac-12 now reviving itself, what happens there, especially with Cal and Stanford? Do those 2 schools just go back to the to the Pac-12 and
I mean,
kind
I
of wipes the
hope.
hands clean? Like, what happens there?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, all this conference stuff, I don't know. I mean, I pay attention to it because of course I do, but until something happens, I don't lose a lot of sleep over it, to be honest.
You did give me a conference realignment idea when I fire up NCAA later, so I appreciate that.
There we go.
Let's go back into the locker room here, okay, with the Mountaineers and the vibe of the team and whatnot. How's the locker room? Does Neil still have the locker room? Are the guys still responding to the coaching staff? What's the vibe going on in there?
I would say as long as Neil Brown is here, he's going to have the locker room. That is one thing that I think is really rung true throughout the entirety of Neil's tenure here, is that he's never lost the locker room. Those guys have always trusted him. It's such a big thing in Neil's program, and just his philosophy of building a program is trust. You can tell there's mutual trust within he and the coaches, and there's mutual trust between he and the players on the roster. So no, he has not lost the locker room. No.
And just on the locker room point, I saw him mention this week that they are going to look to make some changes in the secondary. Just from a standpoint of giving more guys an opportunity to play. And I know he said not really sure or not even positive what that's going to look like, but what are even the options at this point? Because it feels like, maybe they have rotated guys, maybe they have tried combinations, but what are even the options? Because I feel like once you start getting, deeper into the depth chart, these are people that, I guess casual fans just don't know.
Right, yeah. So there's two guys in particular who, for one reason or another, have not played a ton this season that are going to see, it sounds like, based on his comments Monday, an increase in playing time beginning this weekend, and that's TJ Crandall and Jacoby Spells. Now, Jacoby Spells has been in the program for a while. He's a junior now, made a big play against Virginia Tech a few years ago that kind of got him on the map of WVU fans, I guess you could say, and just hasn't been able to get back up to that level since he dealt with an injury and the offseason had surgery. And, to use, I think the wording that Neil Brown used, he's been on track in his return from this injury and from surgery, but I think that the hope was he was going to be a full go by week 1 against Penn State, and that just ultimately didn't happen with the timing of things. But yeah, so I think those two guys are who we're going to see get an increase in playing time. Now, what that exactly means once you start lacing them up on Saturday, not really sure at this point, but Crandall and Jacoby Spells, two guys who I think you're going to see more of. TJ Crandall, a guy who came over from Colorado State, is a young guy, does have some D1 playing experience, but certainly still a young guy that is still looking to get kind of ingrained in what WVU is doing. Both have played a little bit mainly on special teams so far this year, but I think you're going to see them more on defense here moving forward.
Is the defense kind of thinking more of like, we see the offense starting to catch its stride, so is the defense starting to feel a little bit of the pressure now?
Yes, feeling some pressure, but I think the thing is that they've tried fixing things from the standpoint that they thought it was technique and not coaching necessarily, but just the principles maybe that are being taught, the techniques that are being taught. I think that was the issue that was initially perceived to be at hand here for WVU. And now coming out of week 3, I think it's more trying to find the right personnel that can kind of cover up some of those mistakes. So whether it's some of the guys that we brought up already, if it's someone else further down on the depth chart, or maybe just not changing philosophy, but changing scheme more. If it's adding another kind of hybrid defensive back/linebacker to the field, if it's loading up in your front 7 and trying to be more disruptive that way to give your DBs a little bit more time and conversely give the offense a little bit less time to work with. Maybe those are some of the changes that we see moving forward. But yeah, pressure on the defense. But Jordan Leslie, Shadon Brown, they're not shying away from it for whatever that's worth.
So just from a defensive perspective, I guess just from a fan preview and what I see, I would think you got to be really happy with the linebacker group so far. If there has to be a group that has, I don't even want to say lived up to the hype. But when you look at a group that has performed so far this season, I guess I could say the second half of the pit game with the D line, but it feels like at least when the secondary has been lacking, the front 7 is somewhat coming together a little bit. How does Neil Brown feel about it? How does Jordan Leslie feel about it?
Yeah, so Neil made the comment on Monday that actually it's the defensive line that has not been the issue so far this year. He was really complimentary of that group after their performance against Pitt because of some of the stats I mentioned earlier. 11 TFLs, 5 sacks, not all of it belonging to that group. I think it was 4 of the sacks and the majority of the TFLs belonging to the defensive line. And this is without Eddie Vesterinen, who is probably not a name that a lot of WVU fans know by heart, but is someone who has been at the heart of the defense here for the last couple of years. Of someone who can money some things up, and if not get the stat himself, certainly a guy who can take on 2 or 3 guys on the other team to free up someone like a Sean Martin or a TJ Jackson to go make a play themselves. So the defensive line certainly, I think, has, especially the last 2 weeks, caught on. It was a bad showing against Penn State, but they've caught on over the last 2 weeks. That linebacker group, I think you're seeing a mix of results here. Josiah Trotter has played really well, but there's still some things that they would like him to improve on. I think the thing that is being said about him is he's almost moving too fast right now. He's playing with his hair a little bit too much on fire, and sometimes he's over pursuing, which we talked about earlier. He's part of that over pursuit of the quarterback or the offense, which has been leaving the middle of the field wide open, so to speak. So, and then Ty French was a guy coming in this year from Gardner-Webb. He was an extremely good player at Gardner-Webb at the D1 level, who I think a lot of us thought really highly of coming in. And I think you're seeing him go through that process of trying to play at the Power 4, Power 5 level. TJ Jackson did that the first 2 weeks, really caught on this past week as someone coming up from Troy. You're seeing Ty French be around the ball a little bit more, but I think you're still waiting waiting for him to have that big time performance. And then, yeah, I mean, Tyron Bradley's been good at times this year. Ben Cutter hasn't been playing as much as he did at the end of last year, but it's been good in spots. Reed Carrico's made a couple of plays. So, yeah, that linebacker group, that middle level of the defense, they're deep. I think that group more than anybody, maybe, is just finding the right group of guys so you can have your best players on the field at all times and your best playmakers.
Completely understand that. And for the fans who know Kansas from 2 years ago and not the Kansas of last year and this year, I think we kind of saw the Kansas from last year when we played Penn State in week 1, just from the offensive perspective with their offensive coordinator being there. When you look at what they're doing this year, you mentioned it before we got on the call. They're a team that, they come out fiery, but they have been famous for shooting themselves on the foot. Jalen Daniels wasn't always on the field for them last year. So what has it looked like with him being back on the field and, being such an exciting player now?
Rusty so far, I think, is the way you can say it. They have not played up to their potential coming in. Now, if you just look at Kansas statistically, if you go to like the Big 12 website and look at what Kansas has done so far this year statistically, they're basically top 5 in just about everything on offense and pretty much top 8 in everything on defense. But what has really hurt Kansas this year is the turnovers and specifically interceptions. Jalen Daniels so far this year, a 1-to-2 touchdown to interception ratio. It's 3 touchdowns so far this year, 6 interceptions on the year so far. Kansas has turned the ball over at least twice in every game so far and did so 4 times against Illinois 2 weeks ago. So, yeah, this is a Kansas team that's certainly potent, and the way they like to run the things on offense with a dual threat quarterback and a really, really good running back in Devin Neal, who by the end of the season is going to be the all-time leading rusher at Kansas, certainly a big problem for WVU. And then you add in the fact that West Virginia is still looking for its first defensive interception of the year, haven't had one yet. Not sure if they forced a turnover. I'm trying to think back if they forced a turnover yet this year on the defensive side of the ball. Fumble recovery, you're right. You're right. But, and even still, that was just a fumble recovery, not even a forced fumble. Drew Allard just simply mishandled the football there. So either way, it's a team in Kansas that has turned the ball over at a pretty high level so far this year, going up against a West Virginia defense that just has not shown the ability to force turnovers successfully thus far this season. So which one of those is going to break when you add in the fact, too, that, like we've mentioned, Kansas can do a lot of things offensively, and so far defensively this year, they've played about to, I think, their standard where they want to be, at least if you look at them statistically, excuse me.
No, I appreciate that. And before we get you out of here, what is going to be the strengths for WU that they're going to be able to take advantage of against Kansas? And what is, I guess you can say, the weakness of Kansas outside of the turnover aspect? I guess you can say from a position group aspect that WU is going to stand out in.
I think the thing that West Virginia has to do in this game is run the ball really well. You've seen that at times this year. They didn't run the ball very well against Penn State. You saw them run it well against UAlbany, and then there were spurts where West Virginia was able to run it well against Pitt, but we have not seen this team really put it together yet from an offensive standpoint against a power 4, power 5 opponent. And I think that's what will be the difference in this game. If WVU can run the ball really well, have Garrett become a runner in the way that he likes to be, get CJ and Jaheim going, and have at least one of them get up over 100 yards and get in the end zone once or twice. If you can do that, and thus by doing that, control the time of possession and the clock, I think that's how you go about winning this football game, because the way Kansas likes to operate, possessions are probably going to be limited anyways because they're going to run the football, especially maybe with the issues they've had turning the ball over with interceptions. So they're going to run the football. Possessions are going to be limited anyways. If you're WVU and you can get a lead and then run the football as much as possible, keeping momentum, keeping Kansas defense on the field, to me, that's how you go about winning this game. Garrett needs to make the throws when necessary, but if you can take advantage of, look, this is really interesting to me. There's going to be 4 1,000-yard rushers on the field on Saturday. 3 of them belong to WVU. Only 1, and Devin Neal, belongs to Kansas. And now, granted, Jalen Daniels, if he doesn't miss all that time that he's missed, he's a 1,000-yard rusher too. Certainly capable, as you said, of being a 1,000-yard rusher. But 3 1,000-yard rushers on one side of the field, those 3 guys need to be able to take over this game at some point.
All right, Decker. Well, this Saturday, Isaac and myself will be in Morgantown. So, maybe take off the old badge. Yeah, take off the old badge and, go have a cold one.
There we go. All right. Where are you guys sitting?
Oh, we're not going to the game. We're visiting the game. Well, he's going to the game. I have a wedding, but we're visiting the Murray family. Our good friend Ben Murray, who's now a Pitt guy. So then I'm gonna be tailgate probably with everyone, but this guy's going to the game.
Gotcha.
Section 123. Come holler at me.
Okay, 123. All right, I got you. Yeah, I'll be on the field starting at 9 a.m. Is when we get there. 10 a.m. is when we go live for Mountaineer game day here in the Mountain State. So yeah, I'll be live on the field right up till kickoff there at 11 or 12:06.
Beautiful.
You heard it here, folks. Here in the Mountain State, I love it. Ryan Decker was my good friend, our good friend Ryan Decker. Thank you, Decker, for spending about a half an hour with us tonight.
Of course, guys. Thanks for having us, and Isaac, looking forward to seeing you on Saturday.
Let's go.
Hot Street Legends family, I want to thank you guys for supporting us over the last few weeks. We got another great video for you coming up. We have a close friend of mine, Dravon Askew Henry, and there's great content on the way. Let's go.
All right, Mountaineer Nation, we got a special guest for you today. True All-American, 2-time Big 12 selection, Dravon Askew Henry. Dravon, what's up with you, man?
Man, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm good, man. How all season treating you, man? Coming off that grind of a season.
It's good, man. I took a week off, just to get my mental right. I got 2 kids to catch back up with them. And I just started back up training this week. So, it feels good to be back.
Oh yeah. When y'all season start? When the next season?
It started in February. I just got home. What was it? Probably like 2 weeks ago. We should have played in the championship game last week, but we came up short.
I feel you.
Yeah.
So but you still had a successful season.
Coming
off a successful season. What were some of the goals you set out for yourself before the season started? And do you feel like you accomplished those goals this season?
Oh yeah, for sure. One of my goals was, to just be a better person off the field, like mentally, and it started small with me just like reading scriptures of the Bible every day before I start my day. So like just me doing something small like that, but it's big. It just made me just change the way I look at things. And it also started showing on the field or the way how I react, when I got coached or when it's time to compete, I just gave it all to God. Another thing that I probably wrote down that was a goal, I wanted to make more plays like interceptions and stuff. I came up short on that this season, but I felt like, I was definitely around the ball a lot. I had a few PBUs. We rotated a lot with St. Louis. So when my name was called, I definitely had, made the best of my production. My coach was big on that. He always spoke on production. So like each game, I made sure like if I only got 30, 40 snaps, and I had 6, 7 chances to make that tackle or that pass breakup, that next day I better be at least 5 out of 6 or 6 out. I mean, my
Yeah.
goal is to be perfect, but you know,
Right.
so I held myself to that standard each game, and it just showed throughout the season.
Oh yeah, man. Love that
Mhm.
too, man. And
Yeah.
just staying on the topic of the UFL, just
Mhm.
providing players like you the opportunity to keep chasing their dreams.
Yeah.
Players like you, NFL caliber players. I really believe you're
Yeah.
an NFL caliber player. You're a hybrid safety. You
Appreciate
can
that,
cover
bro.
and you can tackle.
Mhm.
You don't
Mhm.
miss too many tackles. Going all the way back to your playing days at West Virginia. Can
Mhm.
you share with us what this opportunity means to you and other players in the UFL?
You know, I'm blessed, man. You know, this is what I've been doing since I was 3, 4 years old, you know, and not only that, this is another way how I've been taking care of my family. So, you know, I'm just blessed with that in itself. You know,
Yeah.
after I had a rookie year with the Steelers, then I went to the XFL, then I had another little shot with the Giants, but then I got released. So after that, I sat out a whole year. Thought it was over, but then that's when the USFL came, then the UF, all these different leagues started coming. So it's a
Mm-hmm.
blessing that us football players is getting another chance to, you know, to show our talents and what we can do, and hopefully get that call to get to the big leagues.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because I came out
Mhm.
2014. That's when they had
Mhm.
the spring league, and then it
Yep.
got canceled.
What
So
was what was that? What was it called? The
I,
AFL?
I
I
think
think
it was
that
the
was
spring
it.
football league.
Oh, just the spring
Okay.
football league? Yeah, they didn't change
Yeah,
the name every year.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then it got canceled. So that really threw me
Okay.
off. That threw me
Okay.
off. But just the last question about the UFL. I know the co-hosts have some
Mhm.
questions as well. So
Yeah.
in terms of it, it's been a hard road for you getting to this point, being undrafted out of college, being selected 19th round in the USFL draft.
Mhm.
What did it mean to you being drafted first round in a UFL draft? Did it make you feel appreciated by the Battlehawks organization and the UFL? How did that feel?
Oh man, I mean, it was a blessing. I mean, first of all, like even with that, I didn't, you know, it was that was the first day of the XFL and USFL with both players being able to get put in the draft, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's going on. First of all, I don't even got an agent. So, you know, I've been without an agent probably for like 4 or 5 years now. So it just been me and God and my hard work.
Yeah.
So like when
Love it. Love it.
when I see a call like that, you know, I answered. I be blessed, man. And then at that, you know, my head coach is Anthony Bett. You know, he went to West Virginia.
Yeah.
He was a first round pick tight end, got here. So,
Yeah.
you know, that connection there was just a blessing in itself. You know, as you get older, it's about connections and building relationships too.
For sure. For sure.
Hmm.
Yeah, we got to get Anthony on the show too, man.
Oh yeah, for sure, man.
Throw
He'll
a
love
little
it,
word
man.
in for us. You know what I
I
mean? Throw a
got
little
you. I
word.
got you.
You
Yeah.
know?
Uh-huh.
Dravon, what's it like playing for former Mountaineers? That's something you guys talk about and catch up on.
Man, it's a blessing, man, you know, because first of all, you know, he went to West Virginia, I went to West Virginia, so we got a little relationship just like that. And, you know, he pulled me to the side a few times during the game. You know, I guess he read me a lot, try to see what I be going throughout the game. And, you know, he tell me don't get too high, don't get too low. And he tell me that practice games every day. I mean, he's a great guy to be around. I mean, he's always coaching to be great. He don't settle for average. I mean, I love him, man. He gave me
Yeah.
an opportunity to do what I love to do, you know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I love how you put that, and being able to play for a former, you know, Mountaineer as well that's different.
Yeah,
You don't get the yeah, that's
it's a
different. You don't,
connection in that itself, right?
exactly, exactly. I'm kind of
Mhm.
curious, when you spoke about your journey, you know, you go from, you know, NFL to XFL or USFL to UFL. When you look at like the transitions of the leagues, like going from different leagues, what was the hardest part for you, whether it be rules, moving, actually like understanding what they're trying to do in that league from a rule standpoint? What was the hardest part of those like transitions for you?
Well, I say the rules they change every year with these leagues. It never really mattered to me because like once I got in between the lines, I just think football. I can't even really still break the rules down to you right now because like all I know is just to play ball once that ball kicked or once I see somebody catch it, tackle it, or don't let him catch it. So it just goes back to, you know, playing backyard football, you know. So that's what I try to keep it as, no matter what the rules change. But the first year in the XFL was a little different. I'll say with the cameras, no matter if you did a good play or a bad play, the cameras was right there in your face wanting to interview. You could be a quarterback, throw a pick six for the game. They right there. So why would you throw that ball? Right? You know what I'm like? Chill, like let me breathe. But that was the only weird thing about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I'm kind of curious. I want to transition a little bit. Did I read this right? Like Ty Law, Darrell Reeves, Mike Decker, like y'all all are alumni of the same high school.
Yeah, man. Yup. I just left there today from a workout, man. And it's crazy because like you can run into them any day. Like last year I was training around this time at the high school. You know, Tyler just popped up and I was actually training with his son. You know, I took him under my wing for a couple of weeks. It's just Aliquippa is so small, man, and this is a football town, and we stick together on that. Yeah.
I'm kind of like blown away by that because like that's like elite Hall of Fame talent, like one small pocket, and I feel like you don't see that all the time. So like, it just out of that, I have a lot of friends from Philly, and like they love to talk ball, and you know how prideful people from Philly are. It don't even matter what it is.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
It could be about food. It could be about clothes. Lingo. It does not matter. I got a couple homies out there. Yeah, so like I'm curious, like West PA got the best high school football, or like my boys in Philly, they not lying to me. Like Philly got the best high school football in PA.
I'm gonna say we got the best football over here, and I could just talk for my high school personally. You know, we just won 3 state championships in a row just last year, the year before that, and the year before that. And then just during my years, I was there in the Whitfield championship, and we made it to state championships twice. So it's like the standard here at Aliquippa. Like if you don't make it to like at least the Heinz Field, that's the Pittsburgh Stadium, which is our local championship, and then that's the state championship after that. It's like you not that. So each year we at least making it to that Heinz Field. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's the standard is high just from the names you named, like Mike Dicker, Ty Law, Darrell Reeves. His names like Jonathan Baldwin, who don't get talked about, who went first round. Tommy Campbell.
Receiver.
Yeah, Tommy Campbell, corner from Aliquippa, who don't get talked about, who got drafted.
It's a lot of pig guys you naming too.
Yeah, man. Oh, yeah, that's crazy. Hey, Tuck Fisher, Aliquippa guy now, West Virginia. Yeah, he went to WVU. He from Aliquippa. So it's just like, it's a lot of names that still don't get brought up that, you know, that, it's a long pipeline of football players here.
Okay.
So at that same high school, you were not just a standout DB, you rushed for over 5,000 yards as a running back. So I'm just curious, was he a better running back? Was he a better DB?
Man.
Did you want to play? And then just a two for following up on that. Like, do you think playing running back made you a more physical defensive back?
I would say what made me a more physical defensive back is probably wrestling in my younger career. Okay. Yeah, so because I hated to be tackled, to be honest. That's why I rushed for what I rushed for. Like I ain't want nobody touching me. So, but I just got my record broken. Was crazy last year by the running back Tyke Hayes, who just committed to Penn State. So shout out to him. You know, but yeah, it was a blessing, man. Once I got that ball, I just didn't want to be touched, and I just had to. I had to score, man.
Did you have any offers for running back when you were coming out?
Oh yeah, like West Virginia had me recruited as an athlete. So like when I actually stepped into West Virginia, I was like, all right, I'm gonna play defense. So then I was at corner. Then they moved me to free safety, then strong safety, and I finished out at nickel. So, and it worked out in my favor through my career, like as I play now, because they just pretty much I've been playing corner at a professional level, nickel, safety. I mean, wherever I got to do, I'm going to do.
See ball, get ball.
Yeah, see ball, get ball, like between them lines.
Yes, sir. Hey, did Russell Shell play when you was there?
Yeah. It was crazy. So Russell went to Hopewell, though. Where Tony Dorsett went, which is like right up the street from Aliquippa. So it's very close. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I thought he went to Aliquippa. All right, cool.
Yeah, you can basically say they connected, though. I'm in Hopewell right now. Like that's where I'm at. But like Aliquippa is probably like 3 minutes from it.
Got you. Yeah, you mentioned some great names, man. So who your top 5 Aliquippa athletes of all time? It don't have to be football, basketball. It can be golf. It could be track. It can be just anything.
Well, it'd be hard to name anything but football because that's what we known for. So I'm gonna just
Okay.
be real. Like when I named the top 5 Aliquippa athletes in my prediction, you know. And this ain't
Okay.
gotta be no order either. I'm gonna let the fans
No, we
choose
need that
that.
order, man. We need
You
that
want the
order,
order?
man.
You want the
don't
We
do
order?
need,
that.
we need at least top 2. We need at least top 2, top
And
3,
not two.
top
They gonna make me
3,
change my list now. They
top
didn't
3.
say they needed that order. All right. Well, if I
And
do
we
it in
got
order,
all
I'm gonna have.
day, man. We can edit
All
this
right,
thing.
for my order for me, Aliquippa, I'm gonna have to go first off. Darrell Reeves, you know, that was a personal connection with me. You know, he kind of took me under my wing when I was making that transition from college to NFL. So shout out to him, and you know, he did it at the highest level, and I seen it with my own eyes.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Then I'm gonna have to say Ty Law, big homie, man. You know, he still reach out. You know, Aliquippa World, man. And he another one who did it at a high level, Hall of Famer. So anytime I reach in, I just said I ran into him last year at the field. So anytime I can run into him, you know, I'm trying to pour into his brain and take anything I can.
Oh yeah.
Then I'll probably say Sean Gilbert. You know, I never seen him play, but if you was just to see him now, and you'll be scared to know that this dude played middle linebacker. This dude like
Sean
6.
Gilbert. I never heard that name before.
Man, I'm telling you, look him up. He went first round. He
Okay.
done played in the league. He done played in the league. Aliquippa got for about, you know,
Okay.
something. I want to say at least 5 years or more. But yeah, he a big guy. He played middle linebacker here,
What
man.
college you
That's
go
just
to?
I can't recall. It's a little bit before my time, but man, it's just like I knew what he did, like on the NFL level, like just watching clips there. So I can only imagine what he was doing on the field at Aliquippa.
So he
Yeah, he
number
a
3.
big
So he
guy.
number 3.
He gonna be number 3.
He
Yeah,
number
just
3.
looking at him scary. Yeah, he
Okay,
number
cool.
3.
Yeah.
And then
Cool.
you know I'm gonna put myself.
Okay.
I'm gonna put
Like
myself.
that.
You know, after me, what's that? What order is that? 4?
That was 4.
Yeah, you got one
That
more.
was 4. One more. I'm gonna have to go with Mike Dicker, and that's just like he did it at the highest level. He started
Okay.
this, you
Okay.
know
I
that
like that.
I can't.
Okay.
He set the platform for all of us. You know I can't do that.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right, so Draymond, out of that list, you named about 3
I
guys
like it.
that went to Pitt. So I'm trying to figure out how we ended up with you and the old gold
We're
and blue.
so lucky, yeah.
I mean, so what
Well,
talked about
I'm
a
gonna tell.
personal connection with Darrell Reeves. It wasn't that connection. I mean, you got the V. So how we end up getting
Man, it was us in the Orange Bowl. Tell the truth.
you,
Tell the truth.
Hey, to be honest though, man, I always wanted to be close, man. And also Coach Tony Gibson, the defensive coordinator at the time, he played a big role, man. He came to my house almost every other week. You made sure I got up there, took care of my family right. And he was also like a father figure, you know, during that whole time there.
Gibby. Shout out Gibby,
Yeah,
man.
Gibby.
Shout
Yeah,
out
you know,
Gibby,
he at
man.
NC State now, you know,
Yeah.
I think he just won defensive coach of the year or something like that last year or the year before, if I ain't mistaken. So he definitely doing his thing still. I think he had a linebacker get drafted first round. Yeah, shout out to Gibby, man. He a good coach.
Oh yeah, he got me right. He got me right for sure.
Yeah. Dang, what was the question again, man? Gibby done got me your side.
No, I'm just saying. So Gibby got you the pick. So that's the only
beautiful,
reason.
though.
I mean,
Okay,
West Virginia.
yeah. I always wanted to stay close, so yeah, it was definitely West Virginia. But like Pitt, I also was about to go there, but it was just like they wasn't recruiting me hard enough. I feel like they don't recruit no one around here hard enough as they should. Like for example, Coach Gibby at West Virginia, but was at my house every other Saturday. The coaches there, I probably, you know what I'm saying? Like I barely heard from them, so.
Yeah.
And then another thing too, I wanted to be different. Like I ain't want to do what Darrell Reeves did, what Ty Law did, or I mean what Tommy Campbell did. Josh Slay, I don't know if you heard of them. Them is all DBs who was from Aliquippa, but they went to Pitt, you know. So I wanted to be different from them guys too. So I chose West Virginia. And I'm a mama's boy, you know, so I gotta stay close to home. And then once I got the country roads, man, it changed my life. I was a boy who turned into a man. The relationships there, the things I'd experienced there, man, I want to take it back for nothing. It was the best time of my life.
Mountaineer Nation gonna love that one right there.
For real, man. Hey, forever, country roads take me home.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You mentioned Coach Tony Gibson. What was that like in the within the halls, like with Coach Gibson in the defense versus the offense? Was it completely separate? Was kind of Dana and all them on one side, and then the defense on one side, or what?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I say it was pretty much separate. You know, like Coach Dana, he was a cool coach, but I say he was more so on the offensive side. Everybody could agree with that. But Coach Tony Gibson, yeah, he was more so. He kept defense to the defensive side. But for me personally, he used to coach me hard, man, hard. He recruited me. So, like, I mean, if I messed up on a play, like in film, he'll rewind it like 5 times. This dude might mess up next to me. We might fast forward and skip it. I'm like, come on, coach, man. He just be
Yeah,
getting me. But
yeah,
it played out the best for me, you know. That hard coaching, like, so like what I took from Gibby, can't nobody coach me like that. You know what I mean? He coached me so hard. I'm talking about every day. Like he wanted me to be great. Like I didn't come off the field with Gibby. Like it
yeah,
was crazy. I could have been tired, hurt,
yeah.
shoulder done went numb. I need you. Let's go. Like
Yeah.
so I mean, I give that guy all respect, man. It's all love with him.
Man, shout out Gibby again, man. Shout out
Yeah,
Gibby.
for
Uh,
real, man.
uh,
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious, like the way you described it. When you have a relationship, you know, you said Dana was cool, and I'm very curious. Like when you have a
Mhm.
relationship where you know you're so D coordinator focused, you know, and you have a offensive minded head coach, like
Mhm.
how does that impact the relationship with the rest of the team? How does he have time to kind of, you know, divulge that time to the
Yeah.
rest of the team? Especially when, you know, you have the kind of talent you guys had on offense
Yeah.
time there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we was definitely talented that year on offense too. It's just like, you know, as a head coach, I mean, that's tough, you know, because it's like taking care of your kids or a family, or not even that. It's deep. You got a whole 40 men over here on defense, another 40 men over here on offense. It's like we gotta focus on something too. But then you got some coaches who just roam the field and let their assistants or whatever do what they do. I mean, every coach I done played for is different. You know, you got some coaches that's all offense, you got some coaches that want to interact with the team, and you got some coaches that's all defense. And I feel like each one of them coaches, it shows in their team, like eventually, or who they really are. Like let's say
Mhm.
Nick Saban. I mean, I think he wasn't he a defensive coach.
Yeah.
I mean, that defense shows every year when he was there. Every year, Coach Daniel Holgerson. I mean, I knew him from air raid. I heard he was somewhat a part of that. Let's start this air raid concept. So you
Yep.
know, and it shows in this game still till this day. So I mean, every coach gonna have what they do or what they like to do, and that's gonna be their thing.
I'm kind of curious, like what were those battles like in practice specifically? You know, what were the battles that got you up, like especially when you're in fall camp, no game to look
Yeah.
forward to, nothing but, you know, off-season predictions from blogs. Like who were the matchups that like woke you up to say, like, and I want to say specifically with your freshman year, because like you got on the
Mhm.
field early, like you were
Yeah.
a player who played very soon in his college career. So
Mhm.
your freshman year, you arrive, like who were the guys that you like look forward to when you stepped on to the practice field and was like, this is the guy that's going to help me prove that I'm prepared to play at the college level, being a freshman, making W a good fit for me.
Well, no question outside of Gibby, why I went to West Virginia was because of Carl Joseph. So when I stepped
Okay.
on that field, it was
So,
specifically like, yo, I want to be like this guy. And then not only that, when I trained my freshman year, we used to run that hill. I forgot what was it called?
law school.
Dang,
You
Law
forgot
School
about
Hill.
law school? That's
Yeah, no, hey,
crazy.
I ain't forget about that hill.
That was tough
Okay.
during the tailgate.
Yeah, so that
Hey.
Law School Hill, we started this my freshman year, week 1, Law School Hill. I'm seeing this dude just sprint up the field and win. I'm like, hold on, man. I gotta beat this dude. So anytime it was a rep, anything like that, I tried to beat him. Hold on 1 second, my bad.
Oh no, you good, bro.
Nah, but like I said, I'm just curious, like who were, like you kind of said, hold on, let's pick it up from here. Hold on. And you kind of mentioned, like, you know, why you chose, you know, Morgantown and W when you spoke to why you chose it over Pitt. But I'm kind of curious, you know, you got on the field early your freshman year. What was the moment one you knew specifically, let's say fall camp, that you were fit to one be a Division I, you know, college athlete? Because I'm sure it's like a reality to go from high school to like Power 5 Division I football and like the
Right.
snap of an instant. So who were some of the matchups that you look forward to, you know, going into that fall camp that helped you prepare for that freshman year? And what was that moment where you were like, okay, I'm actually built to be here?
Well, seeing, Kevin White, we had receivers like Kevin White, Mario Alford. So, them would stick out guys to me, even my freshman year, watching them in practice. So, like, I had to, like, step it up quick just to even, like, consider myself to even be a starter just at West Virginia. My goal was when I go to any team, even till this day, is to, first I got to prove to myself, then I got to prove to my teammates, to my coaches. And after I do that, I just got to keep feeding off that. Like, I can't just go in there and think I'm just get the starting spot. I got to prove to myself, my teammates, my coaches each day that I'm him, and that's just one thing I stick to. And I feel like that just showed throughout my career. And then, like I said, Carl Joseph played a big part in that. Like he used to call me out. If we did like Oklahoma drills, board drills, he say, nah, you come up here number 6. Like I'm just a freshman skinny boy. But hey, I get up there with him and do everything I got, and I leave with a headache. That's Carl. But he brought the best out of me, and that's the honest to God's truth, and I love that. That's still my boy.
I love Carl, and that's actually where I met Dravon. I know you about to segue, Jay, but that's actually where I met Dravon. They was competing in the sandbox up there. I'm talking about just them alone in the sandbox. Just crazy.
Yeah. I'm talking about even like on off days, we'll go get it in. Yeah, like that was my dog, man. Like he made me better even on an off day. We'll do hot yoga. Like what, bro? I ain't never did yoga. You trying to do hot yoga with you? Yeah. But yeah, he just took me under his wing, man. I appreciate him for that too. Man.
That's when I knew you was gonna be nice for a freshman to be out there getting extra work just with Carl Joseph by himself. That means I'm like, oh yeah, he ready. He ready.
Yeah, I appreciate that, bro.
Oh yeah, he ready.
So,
but my bad, Jay. My bad, Jay.
No, you good. No, we got a great story about hot yoga with Carl Joseph and Dravon.
Yep.
No, but Dravon, you went to W at a great era for football for us, especially defensively.
Man, for real, man. Great time.
Yeah, so in practice, you were going up against Clint Trickett, Skylar Howard, Will Greer. Let's talk about going against them in practice and how that made you a better player and how that translated to you playing against some other great quarterbacks in the Big 12.
Practice, it was always intense, especially I say more so like for me personally when Will Greer got there, because, he was a big name, a big quarterback, was Florida, started out 5-0, this, that. So, when I got there, I had a goal, like, I got to pick this dude off. I got to humble him. I don't care if he's my teammate or not. Right. So guys like him, David Sills, Gary Jennings, Marcus Sam, shout out to him. He was just in the UFL, West Virginia guy. I mean, like, we competed every day. Like, if it was one-on-ones, team script, if we could have just been thud and they telling us to slow down, you know what I mean? It was just a fun time and all love and good competing.
Have you played Lady Brown yet?
Oh, yeah, yep. Shout out to them too, yep. Arlington Renegades, yep. Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm curious, like, when you look at, like, your freshman year, what was the moment, like, that solidified it for you? Because, like, you got the ESPN.com, true freshman or freshman All-American nod. So what was the moment for you that solidified that, oh, damn, I earned that? Like, I'm really a freshman All-American, like, recognized by the worldwide leader in sports. Like, what was that moment like for you? Because I mean, that's no small feat, bro. Like that it doesn't matter if that's Athlon Sports. That doesn't matter if it's the Big 12, ESPN.com. Like
big time.
Yeah, exactly. Being a freshman All-American, that's not slight because it's hard to even get on the field as a freshman.
Yeah, it is. Appreciate that. And for me, I was never about saying the award. It was just always, like I said, back to like proving myself right, proving my teammates that I'm him, proving to my coaches I'm him, proving I'm a younger dude, to Carl Joseph, I'm him too, I say bringing that mindset to practice, film, games every day, and that was just the outcome of that. Now, did I celebrate on that? That wasn't, the goal. That was never the dream. Like I say, when I realized though, like, could really be a starter, and I'm actually him or playing now in this Division I league now. This is crazy. I say it was after my first game, Alabama. So once I seen Amari Cooper, Derrick Henry, and all them out there, my eyes was so wide. But then after I done hit somebody, and broke a
Right.
pass up, I'm like, what? I'm really out here doing this against Alabama. I was just playing with them on NCAA. Like I was, you know what I mean? It's back when college was out. So I was like, yeah, after I did that, that's when I was realized, like, yeah, man, the sky's the limit, man. Anything is possible.
Oh, that's big time. I ain't even think about that. True freshman against
Bro,
Alabama. Yeah.
I had Aliquippa guy, I probably had 3 weeks. You know how the summer workouts is. It was about what, 4 weeks, something
Yeah.
like that. You got
Yeah.
training camp, and then my first game was Alabama. So it was definitely, and you up. I'm like, man, dang, I see Kevin White in the stall next to me throwing up. I'm like, man, this is about to
Yeah.
be real. He snapped that game too.
He
He
snapped.
snapped that game. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It was just real, man. It was just everything was just so real. But after the first, I say, couple series, that's when it kind of calmed down for me, making my first tackle, a little pass breakup. That's when it started like, all right, yeah, I could do it.
Gotcha. And then after your sophomore season, you had a knee injury, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
What
yeah.
what was that situation like? What was going through your mind then? Did you feel like it was
Oh,
it was
man.
over, or did you feel like you was going to come back?
Man, I was messed up. That was probably one of the hardest times in my life, because first of all, that was the first time football was taken away from me. That's all I knew, literally. So it was just like, and I was a freshman All-American going into my sophomore year. I think I ended up second team or something like that. But I was still, trying to progress. And then by my junior year, they had me projected to go whatever. And in my mindset where I'm from, I'm gone. That was so like once I tore my ACL,
Right.
the week before the first game, it's just like I was just like heartbroken. I was shout out to David Long, Russell Shell, and them. They were some good friends through that time.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
checking up on me the whole time because all I could do was just sit in my room with my foot up the whole year. So it was tough, but I got through it, man. God, shout out to him too, man. Because without him,
Yes,
I
sir.
couldn't have been. Yeah, I couldn't have got through that and still be playing till today. A lot of
Right.
people don't bounce back from an ACL injury.
Yeah.
Nah, and I think it's so interesting when you mentioned that year because I'm not gonna lie, that was such a memorable year for me. Like just being a W fan, like 10-2 season, you guys like killing it.
That was
Like if you are on the field, what is the ceiling for the defense then? Because like how much better does it get than 10-2? Like if we're honest, like but
The Orange Bowl championship.
and I say that insane because like it's not like you were like a small part that W was missing that year. Like what you did in your freshman and sophomore year was like very valid. So if you're on the field like that 2016, season, like what is the ceiling for that Mountaineer defense? I don't want to speak in totality, but at least for Mountaineer defense, what does it look like with you on the field?
I mean, I think with me on the field back then, like I think it could have helped, but who's to say too? I mean, because like 10-2, that's a good season.
That's
that
a great
y'all
season,
lost
yeah.
2 games, so that them 2 games sound like it been a couple plays or a couple calls that was just went bad, So like as far as one player affecting that, I mean that'd be tough because football a team sport. And then the person who was also playing behind me, throughout a lot of my career was Jeremy Tyler. And he was a hell of a player, though. He was a dog for real. And I got it like our whole room was for real dogs. We had Rasul Douglas still in the league, Daryl Worley still in the league, Carl Joseph in the league or was in the league, KJ Dillon. Who else? He got drafted. Who else was our DB? And then you had Jeremy Tyler back there who was behind though. It was a couple. Who else was playing? It was it was another corner like that too. But you just had a few players, who was dogs, but didn't get their chance. But when they did get their chance, it showed. And they went 10-2, and Jeremy Tyler was a big part of that.
Chestnut,
yeah.
Chestnut, another, that's what I'm saying. Like it's a lot of DBs, that was really out there doing their thing. Also, that just didn't get talked about because of the high caliber players we also did have in the room. And then not only that, I don't like how they say Big 12, West Virginia or whatever don't play defense. You know what I'm saying? First of all, we in the conference where they throwing the ball and they hurrying up every play. You get what I'm saying? This is not normal. We already playing 7-on-7. You get what I'm saying? So it's already designed to go 5 wide hurry up. We need 5 yards, first 10 yards, catch it. And it's like, that's just the game we play. It's the Big 12. You know that personally, you know? So, I mean, I feel like it's great defensive players in the Big 12. They just got to find them, you know? We run a 3-3-5. That's not even an NFL defensive scheme, you know? But we made it work.
Yeah, that hurt defensive players for sure playing in the Big 12.
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm.
All right, Dravon. So we've reached the part of the show we like to do a little segments here. You know what I mean? So one of our segments, start, bench, cut. So I'm gonna give you 3 names. You gotta pick one. Start. When you going bench? When you going cut? All right. Gotta answer it too. We're not editing it out. All right. Okay. So we got Carl Joseph, Darrelle Revis, Ty Law.
Yeah, that's nice. I like that one. That's nice right there. That's nice right there. Yeah.
Go ahead, get him some water.
Yeah,
I'm thinking about that.
And we gonna tag them too.
And we not editing it out either.
Oh man, it's all love, man. First of all 3 of them they heck of a players, man. But what y'all want me to do first, man?
Up to you.
All right, I'll probably I'll start Darrelle Revis. I gotta go him. I mean, I need somebody that's gonna shut down half of that field right now. Man, this is tough. I'm gonna have to bench Ty Law though. And the reason I say that, I mean, not saying he could do the same thing with Darrell do, a little different, but you know, Ty Law was a ball hawk. I know he gonna go get that ball. And that's one thing I do know. Yeah. Carl ain't nothing against his game. He gonna hit you, put fear in you, but like, you know, with that list with Darrelle Revis, Ty Law, I'm gonna have to probably cut my boy Carl. No, even though that don't even sound right.
You got 2 Hall of Famers.
That don't even sound right.
For sure.
Nah, hey, I'm kind of curious because you talked about some of the guys you play with, especially from your freshman year, and like if we're just looking, you know, forward, and you know your upperclassmen years, your vet years at West Virginia, how did those players in your younger years prepare you to help guys like the Kazir Whites who came on, you know, later while you were there, and the David Longs, the Kenny Robinsons? Like how did your vets prepare you to be a vet, especially at the college level, because you have such a short time frame of being there, but you can make, you know, such a huge impact to younger guys?
Yeah, I'll say for me, you know, well, what I took from Carl, like just my freshman year, and took it with me throughout the rest of my career to West Virginia and started giving the other players was, you know, first of all, your work ethic, you know, watching film too. That's another big thing. Like I never really watched film, or everybody say they watching film, but once you sit there for hours breaking the play down or breaking the scheme down or seeing somebody, a receiver body possessor or like a quarterback look this way, look that way, you know, that just break the game down and make it slower. So I say film study, work ethic, you know, stuff like that. That's what I try to get passed down, make the game easier, you know, as you get older. You know, we all get older, so I try to like see what formations the offenses in, or what guy they like to throw the ball to the most. So I just try to find anything I can to give me the advantage, and I try to pass that down to the younger players.
Yeah. And you know this High Street legend, so we gotta ask you, man, what's your favorite memory from High Street, man? What was one night?
Oh man, I could tell you one right now that ain't gonna never forget.
Hey, hold on, before you go.
Now. You want to
before you go, like I just want you to like remember we got Mountaineers, you know, from different eras. So if you like kind of lay out High Street for them and tell them the bars, because me and Jay were there when you were there, so we'll know exactly what you're talking about. But you know, Mountaineers there now or Mountaineers that were there in the past, they might know. They may know, you know.
Yeah, see, they change it every
exactly. So this is going to be very nostalgic for a lot of people.
Yeah, I remember it was right in front of like that Lux, the bank area, you know, where they had the sandwich spot. Yeah, something like that. All right, I think we beat Baylor. I think Baylor came in hot too. It might have been
best night of my life.
They was top 5 for sure, you know, and I
Number
think we
4.
was
Oh,
yeah, we was
Best
I
night of my
don't
life.
know if I don't know if it was ranked at the time or what, but
Nope.
we had a little buzz too, you know. So they came in, we beat them. I go to High Street that night. Matter of fact, I lied. I couldn't make it to High Street. I went like pulling up to High Street. I see the whole campus of students, and then I see a whole set of police officers with their shield up. Man, it looked like a movie. Stand down. I see people throwing stuff. I'm like, oh my God. I see couches getting on fire. I'm like, man, this look like a war zone right now. But yeah, that's it. I had to say that was
classic Morgantown.
yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy because I thought this was the first time we were seeing each other. You saw me back then.
I bet you I did. It was crazy, man. Yeah, it was crazy over there.
Gotcha. And also, man, what do it mean to you to be a Mountaineer? We got Mountaineer fans listening, like we said. What do it mean to you at this point in your life? Looking back.
For me, man, they took me in as a boy and I left as a man. So for me, just saying that is everything, you know, just for the people I met, the lessons I learned, the things I've been through, the good times, the bad times, the ugly times. I was out there on my own, you know, that was my first time in my life. I left my mama's house and now, you know, I ain't never went back either after I left college. So like, yeah, they turned me into a man, you know, and I'm raising my own family now, a man of God, you know, a man of faith. And like, shoot, I'm blessed in that, man. I graduated. A lot of people can't even say that, you know. So, man, I'm blessed, man. Yeah, I'm blessed.
Yeah, man. We appreciate you coming on the show, man. It was refreshing for me just to hear this, man.
Nah, for sure, man. Shout out to you too, man. Cookie Monster, man. You set the platform, man. You set the standard too for a lot of us. You said what? You was there, graduated 2014?
Yup, I graduated 2014. Yep.
I was entering 2014. So, man, I was definitely on the wave. I seen you, man. You was doing your thing, man, for sure.
I appreciate those flowers, for sure.
Hey, and before we let you go, man, we gotta ask you, you know, it's a big year coming up for the Mountaineers. Just coming off a 9-win season, the first 9-win season in a long time. It felt amazing, you know, as a Mountaineer fan. And, you know, from your perspective, what are you looking forward to, you know, from a season prediction standpoint? What are you thinking?
Man, I'm looking for, you know, let's keep building, man. You know, the sky's the limit. You know, let's erase last year. We had a great season, but like us Mountaineers know we could be better. You know, we still out here chasing something we ain't getting in a long time. Or I don't even know, did we ever win a national championship?
Never won a natty.
Did we ever, when the last time we won a Big 12 championship? We overdue.
Overdue.
That's what I'm saying, man. We overdue. Like, let's change this script, man. Let's change this scenario. I'm ready. Like, why not this year? Why not? You know? So if they get that, man, hopefully I get that message to them, man. Why not this year? You know?
I love it, bro.
There's our clip, fella.
Yeah, appreciate that, man.